All right, so now we've been using enhanced inventory in transactions. Let's see how we can reconcile it and check on it throughout the month. So first of all, we can go to our list in our chart of accounts, and we can go down to our other current liability, 88,000 account. Now it gives it this name and this number. You can edit it, but you cannot change it from being an other current liability account. Okay, so it is an other current liability account no matter what. You can't move it to an other current asset if you frequently prepay. That would have to be a journal entry monthly. Okay, but because it's on our balance sheet, we can reconcile this account. So I'm going to right click and hit reconcile. Okay, so we're reconciling the 88,000 account, and you choose a statement date. Now the one thing about reconciliations, you can do these weekly, right? The purpose of doing them, not, like once a month, if you do it once a week or once every day even, in some of these big companies, the purpose of doing that is when you go back, if there's a discrepancy, when you look at the discrepancy report, it does the discrepancy based on the statement date. So if I do it once a week, I say, 11, 1, 11, 8, 11, 15. If somebody modifies something that throws off my reconciliation, it would say it was affected, right? You're in the 11-8 reconciliation, your balance was thrown off. Or in the 11-15 reconciliation, your balance was thrown off. So you're looking at a much smaller period of time than an entire month. Okay. As with any reconciliation, when we're not reconciling to a statement, right? I don't have a statement that tells me what my ending balance should be, like you do when you get a bank statement or a credit card statement. So we want to reconcile this to zero. No finance charges, anything like that. Okay. So when we do that, a couple of things to note here. So we're in the reconciliation screen, which you're used to seeing. So I'm going to click columns to display here. Okay. I have reference numbers. I don't have any in the system, so I'm going to take them off. Date's important. Payee is super important on both sides. If you have any kind of memo, if you actually use those, it's important. And then sometimes it's important to remind yourself, right, at least on one of the sides, what am I looking at? So on the right side, I'm looking at bills. On the left side, I'm looking at item receipts. Okay. All right, so now that I've done that, I can go ahead and sort by, let's just sort by payee. And the idea is to go through, here I'm going to take off reference number again. Okay. The idea is to go through and apply the item receipt to the bill. Now it's not actually linking these transactions behind the scenes, right? You're just kind of marking off that, yes, I have a 2,000 in and yes, I have a 2,000 out. All right. So a couple things to note here. First of all, on the bills side, right? So if I were to edit this bill as an example, this bill has 2 line items, okay? So the credit side of the transaction is hitting accounts payable for $3,000. The debit side of this transaction is hitting the 88,000 account, inventory offset account, for each of these line items. So you can see 2,600, 400. When I look at it on the right side here, I see 2,600 and 400. Okay, two lines. But on the left side, which is your inventory, your item receipts. Your item receipts are hitting the 8,800 account for $3,000, which you can't see here, but if you looked at the journal, right? For $3,000, it's hitting the 8,800 account, and then it separates out the line items to hit the inventory accounts individually. So you just have to be aware of that, right? It's not, it may, or if there's multiple lines, it may not match up. Okay, but because I know that this is actually that same transaction, I can click these 2 off, click this guy off, and the difference is 0. So the idea is to go through this and figure out which ones you can clear off. So 2,400, 2,400, right? I have 150, 150. So on both sides of this transaction. Then what happens is I can say reconcile now. Okay. And just close out of this. Now when I go into reconcile this the next time, right, 11:30, so I'm going to say instead of, I'm going to say 12:06, reconcile it to 0. those transactions are no longer here, right? Because they're marked as cleared. So they're off my list. I don't have to worry about them. Now, one thing to note in here that's really important also, which makes it a little bit more difficult, the payee name is pulling from the vendor name as long as there's not a customer on the line item of the bill. So you can see here, Christy Abercrombie remodel bathroom, right? We can't have sub-vendors. We know it's not a vendor. It's a customer pulling from the line item. So that can complicate this a little bit when you're trying to do these reconciliations, because on the left side, right, from our item receipt, it's going to show the vendor because it's pulling from the header of the transaction. From the right side, which is pulling from the details of the transaction, it's going to show the name of the customer that's on the line item. So what do we do? So the easiest thing that we do is we set up a report. So we go to reports, and we're just going to do a custom transaction detail report. We're going to do it for all time. Okay. We're going to total by vendor. And then we're going to filter it for the 8800 account, inventory offset account. And we're going to filter it for cleared status, no. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to leave it as either in this first example. Okay, so I leave it as either. You can see here, I have these transactions, those ones that we just cleared off, right? The 2600, 400, 3000, 150, 150. They're showing up on this report. If I filter it out and say cleared status, no, they come off of my report, so I'm only left with what is actually open. Okay, so you can see here too. So this is for H Unlimited. Shows the name because it's showing the customer names in there, but it'll allow me to run this report, see, okay, H Unlimited 120 item receipt, and on 120 that's probably the same. And I could go in and research, right, by double clicking if I want to go in more, but 2000 and 2000. So I can go in here to my reconciliation now and choose the 2000 H Unlimited, go down to the Ys, right, and have my Young Koyu repairs. Okay, and check those two guys off. Now notice on my report here, it gives them a little asterisk because they're marked to be reconciled, but they're not reconciled yet. But I can go through this report and start to check those guys off, okay? And the goal would be to be left with, on this report, only those transactions that either have an item receipt and no bill, or a bill and no item receipt.